right, good afternoon or good morning, depending on your part of the world. Today we're going to talk about tips and tricks in Counterpoint. Any questions, just enter them into the chat window on the Ring Central toolbar. We'll have a Q&A at the end. My name is Gina Thomas. I'm the training manager at C&K Systems, and of course your hostess for Training Bytes, a digestible approach to Counterpoint training. So, have you ever been working in Counterpoint say to yourself, "There's just got to be a better way to do this"? Or have you ever wondered if you could get some type of pop-up notifications for items or customers or maybe even purchase orders? Or maybe you have a pretty large store with a large staff and your internal communications need some improvement. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some time-saving shortcuts. We're going to talk about auto notes. These are notes that automatically pop up when you select a customer, item, vendor, or a purchasing document to receive against, and also the message center. So the message center is an internal email and also an instant messaging center. And that, of course, you can only send within your Counterpoint network. So some of the time savers I'm going to show you today: bulk copy and paste, bulk delete. I'm going to show you how to search multi-page reports in a lookup or even in a report preview. And we're going to talk about keyword searches and make sure everyone is using keyword searches because that's the quickest way to find an item. I'm going to talk about some other time savers like the column designer shortcut and date shortcuts. And then, of course, the auto notes for items, customers, vendors, and purchase orders. Some purchasing time savers, you may or may not know this, but you can actually copy from an old PO, which is a huge time saver. And Counterpoint will use your current cost and not the cost from the old PO. You can also have one receiver where you receive against multiple POs as long as it's the same vendor and same location. And there's also a visual aid that you can enable in a control where Counterpoint will kind of flash a fancy turquoise color if the cost is different on the document that you're creating compared to the default or last cost. Some item help and information. We'll talk about the difference between active, discontinued, inactive. We'll also talk about leveraging the vendor item number that you see on the item record. And if you sell age-sensitive merchandise, I'll show you how to set up a prompt code. So at point of sale, your salespeople are prompted to check ID. And then for some customer tips and tricks, we're going to learn how to define multiple addresses. So if you're heavy into shipping and you have a customer that has the local address but also their vacation home, you can actually attach as many addresses as you like to a single customer record. And also how to locate sales information quickly through Zoom, especially at point of sale. This is a very helpful customer service tool. And then we'll talk about the message center, how to just send an email or how to send an instant message. Pretty easy. And with that being said, let's get into the software. So first I'm going to show you bulk copy and paste. I'm going to show you an inventory, but this is true in customers and vendors as well. So if I go into items and I just click on the table view. So I don't know if you know this or not, but table view, you can actually edit your item records as long as it's not a protected field. So if you needed to come in here and edit descriptions or price, you can do that. Swap out categories, subcategories, vendors, you can do that. But you can also do a bulk copy paste in here. So the copy paste in Counterpoint works a little backwards. You have to start with what you want to change and end with what you want to change it to. So for example, I'm going to start here because I want to change this vendor from this to something else. Now I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm going to up arrow. And I want to change everything that I highlighted to Callaway. So I stop at Callaway, I let go of my shift key, and then I right click here on the column header, that's important, and I copy values. And then you get a warning, you just say OK. And there you go. Now I'm lucky because my records were continuous. There was one right after another, but that's not really the reality. You might have some random records that you want to change, but the rule is still the same. You start with what you want to change and you end with what you want to change it to. But because it's random records, this time instead of my shift key, I'm going to hold down my control key, control, and I'm going to click, click. So I'm just clicking on some random lines, click, and I want to change them all to Dunlop. So I'm going to click in Dunlop. I'm going to let go of my control key. I'm going to come up to this column header, right click, copy values, and now they were updated. So you can see everything with a little caret in on the side here. It's now Dunlop. You can also bulk delete in the same way. Now, in general, we don't recommend you delete items or delete customers because you orphan the history. But if it's, you have 60, 70,000 items and 5,000 of them are obsolete and you don't care about the reporting and you just want to get them out of the database, same with customer records, it's the same steps, except it doesn't matter what order you do it in. So if you want to bulk delete, hold down your shift key, down arrow, highlight them all, click on the X. Counterpoint will not let you delete item records that have a quantity or a document associated with them that's unposted. Like an unposted receiving, physical inventory count, a purchasing document, transfer document. It just won't let you. Now, again, that's great if it's a continual block, but what if it's random? So, same thing, hold down your control key, click, 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 and then come up here and delete. And you'll get a warning, and then they'll go away if they're not attached to a quantity or document. Where that's really handy, the bulk delete, is in purchasing. So if you go to purchasing, if you're the type of person that under purchase request, you run this really cool purchasing advice report, um, you can accidentally create a lot of purchasing documents. So this report will tell you what to order based on your sales. And I'm just going to go ahead and put in a date range here. And I'll just preview it. It's a pretty nice report if you've never looked at it. It gives you lots of information. But the other thing you can do in purchasing advice is you can come down here and generate. And what Counterpoint will do is it'll generate a purchasing document for every vendor on that report. But it does generate them in an unposted state. So they're a purchase request. So I'm going to click on generate, click OK, and you can see it created 4 purchase requests. But I've had people accidentally create 80 or 90 purchase requests doing this because they have so much history. I don't have that much history. So it's not the end of the world. If even if you want to play with the report and generate and then just delete what was generated, you could do that too. So if you go into purchase request enter, and I'll just come here, go to your table view. And if you've never been in a table view in a in purchase request, it's pretty nice. The top half of the screen kind of gives you a summary of the purchasing document, and the bottom half of the screen gives you the item detail. But it's at the top half of the screen that you're going to bulk delete. So I'm just going to hold down my shift key, down, 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 down. They're all highlighted. Click on the X. Goodbye. Done. The next thing I'm going to talk about is looking at reports. And I'm going to do this through a lookup preview, but this is pretty much any report will let you do the same thing because we're going to be looking at previews. So whether I'm in a lookup preview or a report preview. So I'm just going to go into this lookup. And so here's my lookup. And when I click on preview, whatever I see here on the screen, the columns I see are going to be in my report or in my preview. Now, once your preview's on the screen, whether it's through a lookup or whether it's through a report, perhaps you're looking for a particular value. and what's being returned are dozens of pages. And you don't want to flip through each page looking for whatever value you need. These binoculars come in pretty handy for that. The binoculars will search any value that you see in this preview. So if I say something like I type golf and I click on Find Next, now that's a category. It actually finds my golf report name, but it also finds items associated with golf. So you can see. And it's just that the outline is just a little bit darker than the rest. But like I said, you can search any value. So even if I wanted to search for something that was like 99.99 in this report and click on Find Next, and you can see it's finding 99.99 even though it's 33.99.99. We'll do something more specific. Let's do 2160. And there you go. There's 2160. Something else that's really handy, more so in lookups, it is in some reports, but not all of them. You can actually filter through the preview. Now, of course, you can filter before you preview, but you forgot. It's dozens and dozens of pages. You don't want to close out if you're in Start all over again. If you come up here to this Select Expert, you can actually filter for any value that's in this report. So if I click on New, I can filter by item number, description. I can filter by category. So then notice it says, is any value? Well, that defeats the purpose. So I'm going to say is exactly is equal to, and then over here I'll just type apparel. And I'll click OK. Look at that. Now my preview is only showing apparel. Now I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. And I'm going to say OK to restore it. Just so you can see the change. I'm going to do a new one, and I want to see price. I want to see everything in this report that is between 10 and 20 and OK. So there you go, the Select Expert. So I want you to notice something while we're here in this preview. See how this price one is left justified, but the data is right justified? It's not a very beautiful preview, not a beautiful lookup at all. The reason why it's like that is if you look in your actual lookup right here, see how this column, the header is left justified and the data is right justified? You can actually fix that in a lookup. So if you want to get into your column designer, which is what you need, a lot of us, we right click in column design or we go to options in column design. Those are fine. There's a quicker way. If you come to this little square in this upper left hand corner, brings it right up, one click. Now next, to fix the price one column, we're going to go to column options. We're going to highlight price one. And you can see here there's a title box and that the data of the column title is left. I'm going to make it center. And then down here you can see the data is aligned right. I'm going to make it center. And then I'm going to click OK. See how nice it looks here now? And then when I preview, it's going to look nice in the preview as well. When you do make changes to your lookups in the column designer, do remember they are temporary. So if you really like something after you've aligned the data and you want to make it permanent, you have to save it. So if you go to Options, Save As, Counterpoint will suggest the default, which means it will become the default for everyone in the organization. So if you don't want to do that, you just give it a name here where it says Save Name. I'm going to call mine Pretty Report. And OK. So now anytime anyone in the organization comes into this lookup, they'll see the default. But you can use this drop down and find your pretty report. Another thing that happens in lookups is sometimes we just have so much information. So I'm going to access my column designer and I'm just going to add a whole bunch of information here. I added multiple columns by highlighting one, by the way, holding down my shift key so that I'll highlight multiples. And while we're in here, sometimes when people are looking for a value to add to the column designer, I see them do this. Okay, these are in alphabetical order, so if you're looking for something in the T's, you're going to be scrolling for a while. So just a little shortcut here. If you are in your column designer and you need to get down to the T's, just click on one of these elements, type a T on your keyboard, and there you go. Right, so I added all these columns. Now, because I added all those columns, I now have a scroll bar. And as I scroll, everything just moves to the left. But you know what? I don't want description to move to the left. I want to be able to see it as I scroll. So it's pretty simple. It's right click, lock column. And now when I scroll, I will always see the description. When you do lock column, Counterpoint will lock the column that you're highlighted on and everything to the left of it, just so you know. If you just want to escape, it'll unlock all the columns, so I'll just click out of here. And when I go back into the lookup, they're all unlocked. The other thing I want to talk about while we're here in the lookup, and this is something that I think is extremely important for everyone in the organization to be able to do this quickly and fluidly, and that's find items in inventory or find, anything in a lookup. And when I say lookup, I mean anytime you have a magnifying glass, that's a lookup. So people should know how to use the lookups, especially your point of sale people, because they can sell incorrectly if they don't know how to use a lookup. And we know things come up to point of sale without barcodes or with barcodes that don't scan. So we want to teach them that when they go into a lookup, the cursor is already blinking in the keyword, so they don't have to do anything except start typing. And so I'll say to somebody, well, find, hot dog in your inventory. Again, this is what I see. And this is fine if you only have, 100 items in your inventory. But really, it's much faster to come to the keyword and just start typing. And what I really like about the keyword is it's very beefy. It searches multiple columns. So if I were to type finder, see how it finds this laser rangefinder, even though it's not the first word in the description? Or if I just type apparel, it pulls up all my apparel items. So not only is it searching description, it's searching category as well. It does stop as soon as it finds the first match. Okay, so please encourage and train your people to use keyword searches. The next thing I want to show you are a few date shortcuts. This is true in any date field anywhere in Counterpoint, by the way. Any date field, this will work. I'm just going to pull up an item. So down here I have a date field, and it's blank. If I type a T, as in today, I get today's date. If I type a minus, whether there's a date there, if there's a date there and I type a minus, it'll go backwards a day. If it's blank and I just type a minus, still goes backwards a day. Minus, 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 minus goes backwards, and then plus, 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 plus goes forward. There's also shortcuts for month, week, and year. So if you type in the letter M, which is the first letter in month, you get the first day of the month. If you type H, as in the last letter in month, you get the last day of the month. If you type in Y, as in the first letter in year, you get the first day of the year. If you type in an R, as in the last letter in year, last day of the year. Same is true with week, W, and K. Just handy and time saving. And I don't need to save that. Next, I want to talk about these automatic notes that you can assign to an item, that when the item is selected at point of sale, a note is displayed to the sales associate, or if you select an item in purchasing and there's a note associated with it, the buyer will see the note. Or if you add a note to a customer record when that customer is selected at point of sale, the sales associates will see that note. So there's some controls involved in this. So I'm going to show you the controls. I'm going to go to Setup, Purchasing, Control. And you'll notice here in the lower half of the screen, Item Auto Display Note, Vendor Auto Display Note, PO Auto Display Note. So I usually put AUTO as the identifier. Hey, when I type AUTO on the item note, or I type AUTO on the vendor note, or AUTO on the PO note, then automatically pop these up during purchasing. Okay, that word can be any word you like. It could be pineapple or avocado. I just happen to like auto because it's easy to remember. Automatic, auto is short for automatic. But again, this all deals with purchasing and things that happen in purchasing. Now, that being said, under point of sale and point of sale control, and the other tab down here in the lower half, here again, customer auto display note, I made it auto. But there's an item display note as well, and I made that auto 5. So if I have auto 5 tied to the item, it's one message at point of sale. If I have auto tied to an item, then it's a different message in purchasing. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm just going to go to Inventory and Items. And I have a jacket in here, so I'm going to go into my lookup. And I've already searched for this jacket today. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but when you are in a lookup and you find something, when you go back to that lookup, Counterpoint tends to remember what you last looked at. So that way you don't have to keyword at all. It's already there. I'm just going to come here. Now on your toolbar, on your item toolbar, this is usually black. That means there's nothing there. But that's your item notes. Mine has writing on it, so I have something here. So if I click on this, and I have black arrows, so obviously there's something here. I'm going to right click. So here is a note that I attached to this item, and I made the note ID auto. So it's just going to show up in purchasing. And here I made my note ID auto 5. So this is only going to display at point of sale. And it's pretty easy to add a note to something. I'm going to find one without a note. So if I come here, so here's an item without a note. If I come here, all you have to do is free form the note ID with auto. If you want it to come up at purchasing, or in my case, auto 5 if I want it to come up at point of sale. And then you type in whatever message. This item contains gluten. Okay. Or peanuts or something. When you do put a note here, you can fancy them up. If you highlight this line and go to this A with the underline, you can change the font, you can change the font style, the font size, and even the color. So then your automatic note is nice and fancy. You can also center justify it, things that you can do in Word, bold, italics, underline, everything. Now remember, we have auto for purchasing and auto 5 as the ID for point of sale. So I'm going to go into point of sale. And I'm going to go ahead and sell that jacket. Look at your keyword search. So here's the auto note, auto 5, attached to the item, So it's showing you how it's displaying at point of sale. I just didn't make it look fancy with any fancy fonts, so it's kind of a boring message. Now, same item, but I'm going to go into purchasing this time. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and select a vendor. So I'm going to use Adams as my vendor. Oh, look, here's an auto note that I attached to the vendor Adams. Okay, now I'm going to come down here and select my jacket. See how Counterpoint remembered my lookup? There's my auto note that is specific to purchasing. But where I think the auto notes are super helpful is at the document level, especially if you need to flag your receiver on something. Let me just get to some quantities. If you do want to add a note to a purchasing document so when it's being received against, your receiver sees this, you have to create the purchase request first, and then you have to save it, and then you could come here. And again, this note ID is simply auto. Let me know when this merchandise arrives. I need this. Let me know. Red alert. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and post this. So now, a couple weeks later, my receiving person is receiving for me. Oh, I'll just come down here and grab that last one. Here we go. There's my auto note. Okay, so I think that's pretty helpful. Something else that is super helpful, cancel, goodbye, cancel, vicious loop, yes, I'm sure. Something else that's pretty helpful when it comes to purchasing is the fact that you can copy from an old PO. And as I mentioned earlier, when you do copy from an old PO, Counterpoint does look to your current cost, not the cost on the old PO. So if you happen to copy from a PO that's 5 years old, that's fine. Counterpoint's still going to look to your current cost. So I'm going to go to Purchase Request Enter. A lot of people don't even notice this button, but it's over here. In case you don't notice it because it's grayed out until you auto-assign a number. So once you get a number here, now the Copy PO button's lit up. I will warn you, when you go into Copy PO, it's going to show you all your POs from the dawn of time. So if you have a lot of history here, you can always use your filter to filter down for a date range or a vendor, whatever you like. So then you just select it, and your purchase request is totally populated. So copy PO is pretty handy especially for those static orders. The things that you order over and over and over. Another time saver when it comes to purchasing and receiving is the fact that you can receive against multiple POs on one document. So, that happens in real life. You order a bunch of stuff from a vendor, you had two different purchase orders, and they shipped it to you all at once. So I'm going to go to Receivings, and Receivings Enter. Okay, I'm just going to auto assign. Now, here are the rules. If you want to receive against multiple POs, they all have to be for the same location, and they have to be from the same vendor. So I'm just going to choose Adams because I know I got a lot of POs in here for Adams. Okay, so here I'm just receiving against the one PO. Oh, look, an auto note. Okay, I'm going to go to Lines. So here's everything from the first PO. Now I'm going to come up here to the top to Document, right here, and I'm going to select PO. Here's my other POs that I can receive against on this one receiver. Okay, so that is receiving against multiple POs. Something else that I'd like to show you since we're here in receiving, I talked a little bit earlier that there was a control that you could enable that if you had a cost difference, Counterpoint would give you a visual cue. But again, it depends on a setting that you have to enable. So I'll just show you what I mean by that. I'm going to come down to this item down here. And if you look over to the lower right, over here where my little dot is, you can see that my cost is $1.76. So I'm going to change that to $5. See what happened? Oh, except I clicked too many times. See how Counterpoint turned this field turquoise? And if you hover on it, it even says, look, there's a difference of 183% here. So in order to turn that switch on, I'm going to exit from here. Oh, one more thing. Here, let me post this. It also gives you a warning at this point. So when you have that control turned on, you get the turquoise, and you also get this warning when you post. Now I shall exit. So to turn on that control, you're going to go to Setup, you're going to go to Purchasing, and you're going to go to Purchasing Control. And it's going to be right here on the first page towards the bottom once it loads. So if you come all the way down to the bottom, you would enable this switch, which is not enabled by default, by the way. So you enable this switch, and then you define a threshold. I put mine at 2%, but it can be whatever you like. The next thing I want to talk about, because I get a lot of questions about this, is on the item record, active, discontinued, inactive. So I'm just going to go to an item record so we all have a visual. And I'm just going to find an item. So when you build a new item, the default is active. Then your other choices are discontinued and inactive. I'm going to talk about inactive first. Hard-coded into Counterpoint are notifications about inactive items. So it's automatically there. It can't be turned on or off. It's just there. If you try to sell an inactive item at point of sale, you will be warned it's inactive, but you'll be allowed to sell it anyway. If you're the type of Counterpoint user that uses customer orders, special orders, back orders, and layaways, Counterpoint will not let you put an inactive item on those documents. If you're a Galaxy customer, you mark something inactive, it disappears out of Galaxy. When you go to purchase or receive this item, you'll get a warning that's inactive, and Counterpoint will not let you purchase or receive the item. So a lot of times I get the question of, well, what if I make it inactive and then I change my mind? Well, just change your mind, go back and make it active. That's fine. And if you're Galaxy, the item will go back over to Galaxy. Your other choice is discontinued, but whether or not you get warnings about discontinued items depends on controls that you need to turn off or on. On if you want them, off if you don't want them. If you mark something as discontinued, you'll get a warning at point of sale, but you'll still be able to sell it. You'll get a warning in purchasing and receiving, but you'll still be able to purchase and receive. So if you currently don't have those and you want to turn them on, or you have them and they're driving you crazy and you want to turn them off, there's two places. One is in Setup, Purchasing, Control. Okay. And you have to come to the Activity tab. And here's one switch. For purchase orders, give me the discontinued item warning. For receivings, give me the discontinued item warning. Now, for point of sale, it's in a different place. So we're still going to go to Setup, but this time we're going to go to Point of Sale, and we're going to come to Stores. Now, this is a store level setting. So if you have multiple stores, you're going to need to visit each and every store to enable or disable the setting. So I'm going to select a store. I just usually use my right facing arrow to select something, which usually goes pretty fast, but Counterpoint's been a little pokey this afternoon. You need to go to lines right here, and here are the statements. So you can check all of them or just some of them. It's up to you. The next thing I want to talk about, I think, is something that's overlooked, and that's the vendor item number, which is the vendor's catalog number on your item record. I'd like to talk a little bit about it because there's some misconceptions about it, but there's a strength to it as well. So your vendor item number, I thought I had one on that guy. Maybe not. We'll just play with this one. This field down here, the vendor item number, is for the vendor catalog number. The field only opens up after you select a primary vendor. The intention of the field was to have it print on purchasing and receiving documents. And that's the weakness of this. It only prints on purchasing and receiving documents. A lot of times I have people say, well, I want the vendor item number to print on my sales reports. That's not a feature of this field. Its only intention is for purchasing and receiving. But a strength that this has is that it's a search engine. So if I have this item number here, 1003, and I have this barcode 123, and the vendor catalog number for this is 123456. Essentially, no matter where I'm at in Counterpoint, whether I'm in point of sale, purchasing, receiving, adjustments, transfers, no matter what, the item number is a search engine, the barcode's a search engine, and the vendor item number is a search engine. So I'll show you what I mean. Here I am on a brand new record, and I want to find something. And if you want to find something that's an exact match of the search engine, you can just free type on the item number field anywhere in Counterpoint. So if I type 123456, there's my item. Okay. If I type the barcode number 123, it still finds the same item. Okay. Anywhere in Counterpoint. And if I actually free type the item number, well, obviously it's going to find that. And there it is. Now, for the vendor item number to be searchable, and again, that's everywhere in Counterpoint, including point of sale, you have to enable control. So the control is actually in a different place. It's going to be Setup, System, Work Groups. If you have multiple stores, you're going to have to visit each work group to enable this setting. So I'm just going to use my right-facing arrow here. And here's the switch down here. Check vendor item number. Okay, next we're going to talk about age-sensitive items. So maybe you sell something that, the purchaser has to be over 21. I happen to sell beer at my golf store. So for any item, if you want to set some type of prompt, you come here to Other, and you can have up to 3 prompts per item, but that will make your salespeople very insane. I would probably just stick to one because that's just too much clicking at point of sale. So I set up this one called beer. So if I go into this lookup, I'm just going to go to edit so you can see how I set it up. I just did a free typing of the word beer on the prompt code line. You can type anything you want. Then I gave it a description. And then I said the text to qualify or the text to display. What are you going to show my salesperson? It's going to say enter birth date to qualify. The data type I want is a date. Entry is going to be required, but only once per document. That way, if somebody's buying 6 different beers, we don't get prompted 6 times. Again, way too much clicking. Then you have to have a constraint. If you forget this or you don't have the recording or you can't make it out, just let me know. I'll email it to you. But it's age, years, uppercase, lowercase, doesn't matter. Parentheses, V as in victory, close parentheses, greater than sign, which is on your keyboard, like to the right of your space bar, equals to 1. And then if the date that's entered does not meet this constraint, then this error message will appear. So at point of sale, they're prompted for enter the birth date to qualify. So if a date goes in that is not over 21, then when my salesperson clicks on OK, this is the message they get. Now, of course, this isn't clever enough to know if your people are making updates, but it's there. Sadly, Counterpoint does not have eyes yet. Okay, another thing that a lot of people overlook in Counterpoint, especially if you're heavy into shipping, is the fact that you can have multiple addresses associated with one customer. The example I gave earlier was to local customer, you ship locally, but they also have a vacation home, and you ship there sometimes. So I'm going to go to customers, and I'm going to find me. This address on the main tab is considered the billing address. If I go up to ship to addresses, and I'm going to use my right facing arrows because I created another one today, you can see I have a vacation ship address here at this address. Now I'm going to add a new one just so you can watch out for a gotcha when it comes to these addresses. I'm going to click on this plus sign. Notice when I go to add a new one, it defaults to a ship to address of default. If you leave it as that default, then anytime you try and ship something to this customer, it's going to want to ship to the default address, not the bill to address. So just so you know, if that's what you want to happen, leave it at default. I'm just going to call mine, let's see, what should I call it? I'll call mine Maryland because I have a home in Maryland. This is Maryland address, and that address is 444 Ocean Circle. And then I'll just save. Now, the beauty of this, plays out at point of sale. So I'm just going to log back into point of sale. So somebody wants you to ship something to them. I'm going to go ahead and just put Gina on this ticket. And I don't know if you all know this or not, but you don't have to use your customer lookups to do a customer lookup anymore with this new UI. If you come over here and just click right in this field, it'll take you to a customer lookup. And by the way, a shortcut for your lookups is F9. So if I just press F9 on my keyboard, it goes right in there. And I'm going to find Gina. No, I don't. Oh, that was an auto note on Gina. So I'm going to go to more customer functions. Now this button might be in a different place on your design, but mine happens to be a couple levels down. I'm going to go to ship to. So if I say copy bill to address, it's going to be that Main Street address. See that? Now, if I want a different address, I have to go into the ship to address lookup, but you will only have items in here that you've actually defined on the customer record. So when I go into this lookup, because I've defined two different addresses, they're both here. Okay, so that's multiple addresses. Oh, I can't spell Maryland. It's dyslexic day. While we're here in point of sale, I also want to show you another very overlooked feature in Counterpoint, and this is especially a great relationship to customer service. This providing you're tracking customers, I know a lot of you do. So you have a customer that comes in. They're a regular customer, and they bought a charm bracelet for their wife a year ago. And they're coming in now, it's holiday season, and they want to buy another charm, but they can't keep track of all the charms they've bought. So right at point of sale, your salespeople can help that customer, but you have to teach them how to do it. So if you go into your customer lookup and then find your customer, I'm going to find Bill Baker. He's got a lot of stuff here. Then you're going to zoom. Okay, and a lot of people see this ticket history here, and so they kind of gravitate towards that. I mean, that's okay, but it's a lot of clicking to find the information that you need. So something that's just a lot easier is this, view ticket history. When you go into view ticket history, And then the next thing I do is I come over here to table view. Never underestimate the power of a table view. So the top half is just a summary of each and every transaction we've created for Bill, and then the bottom half is the item detail. And so here's the beauty. He might, like I said, regular customers, a couple years worth of sales here. You can actually use this filter to narrow down a date range. And you can also, of course, we can customize filters to look for other elements that we want to filter by. Things like maybe the document number, maybe the time of day that it was created. So, and then once you find what you're looking for, you can actually also print a copy. So a lot of you know that when you're in point of sale, there's typically a reprint ticket button at point of sale, but that only prints from today's business. So this is also handy, this Zoom view ticket history, handy for printing receipts or copies of receipts in the past. So don't underestimate your Zooms. Okay. So the next thing and last thing I'm going to show you is the message center. That's internal email only within your Counterpoint network, or you can also send instant messages. So there's an envelope on your toolbar right up here. And as long as your people can see this envelope, they can send an email. So I'm going to click on this envelope. So here's some emails I got earlier. So you have to click on new message. There's an address book that looks through your entire user list. Or if you want to send it to everybody, you can just say all users. Then you need a subject. Great big sale. Big. Spelling doesn't count today. Don't forget signage. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and send. All right. Now it takes a few moments for it to show up, and it's a little wonky the way it behaves. It'll show up in your system tray down here. Let me find my system tray. But it's really hard to see because it's black. Let me get that out of the way. Come back here. So it's right here. But you probably can't see it, but you can see where it says, oh, you have mail. But when you click on it, it doesn't bring it up. It's so silly. But it does let you know it's there. So if you just come up here, you'll see it. It's right there. You can see it's unread because it's still in bold. Okay. If you want to send an instant message, same thing, new message, select your users, select a subject, click on is pop-up, put in a message. I'm tired of time corrections. Ugh. Okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and send. And it'll just pop up on the screen really, really quickly. As soon as I click on something, it'll pop up. Maybe, maybe not. It got stuck. In order for your users to be able to send an instant message, there is a control for that. Where's my instant message? It should have popped up by now. Let me show you where the control is, and we'll try another one. I'm going to go to Setup System Users. Oh, there it is. There's my Counterpoint did not let me down. There's my instant message. So it did take like a minute. So in order for your associates to be able to send an instant message, you have to enable a control on the user record. So I'm going to go to Users. I'm just going to find myself in here. This switch here, Send Instant Message, needs to be enabled. Otherwise, I don't see that little switch that says is pop-up. A message manager is just somebody who can create message groups. If you care to have them, you don't have to. So I came in here into message groups, and I just made a group I called Sales, and I attached these two people to it. So that's just one of my choices to send emails. I could just send it to these two people with this group Sales. Okay, and that is the message center. So let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation. And from current slide. Okay, we did that. So, at the end of the day, I hope you learned some time saving shortcuts. Oh, jump slide. If you want to use those automatic notes for items, customers, purchasing documents, vendors, you should know how to set up the control and how to use that note ID that you set up as the control. And also, if you want to use that internal email to improve internal communications, now you have a way of doing that through instant messaging or emails. So, of course, I always appreciate your feedback and topic suggestions. Friday, when you get a copy of the video, or Monday at the latest, there will be a survey attached. It's just a 2 question survey. You can remain anonymous, or you can go out to our website and just fill it out today. Just kidding. So, next month on November 3rd, we're going to talk about merge and renumber, how to merge duplicate customer records, merging duplicate item records, and renumbering items and customers where you hate their identifier. I get that quite a bit. Okay. And of course, if you want customized training tailored to your business, give me a call, main number extension 3, or you can email me at training@cksystem.com. So, time for Q&A. Looks like I got a few questions in the queue. Okay. Is there a way to search explicitly for the first character in the fields to match the search engine? Not in a keyword search. The keyword search depends on at least 3 characters. And again, it's going to just stop at the first thing that it finds or its first match, whether it's the item number, the description, or the category. Um, do you think maybe you're looking for something in a filter to explicitly match the first character? Because you can customize a filter where it says description begins with, and then you could say it begins with D, and then Counterpoint would only return those items with the description that begins with D. Pretty sure I'm not making that up. Here, let's go see. Let us see. Inventory items. I'll just go into a lookup here, and I'll just go to a filter. Here's description contains. Let's see if we have begins. Yep, begins with. So you certainly can do that in a filter. And it depends where that filter is, by the way. Okay, and if that doesn't answer your question, you can chat me up with another one. Come on back. Okay. Is there a way to change the setting for receiving staff to be able to update barcodes? Good question. It's not a setting. It's a lot of steps, though. Um, you actually have to go into an item lookup as you're receiving the item, click on Edit, and then scan the barcode to that field. But I have a different solution for you because I know you have 2B, but I'll show you what I mean by that first for those of you that don't have 2B. 2B is a handheld solution. So as I'm receiving, yeah, so there's no setting or no security tied to this. I just have to know how to do it, but it is a lot of steps. Okay, so too much clicking. Too many auto notes. So if they wanted to add a barcode to this item, for example, they'd actually have to go into, come on back. Oh, well, look at that. Let's try a new one. They'd actually have to go into the item lookup right here. So I'm on a fresh line. I couldn't go into the lookup when I was highlighted on a line. So if I go in here, and all I have to do is find the item I want to add the barcode to. There it is. And then edit. And then I'd have to come down here to the barcode field and scan in the barcode. It's just a lot of steps. But you have 2B, and I don't know if you know about this feature in 2B, and it's not going to help you at receiving. It's not going to help you at updating the items during receiving, but after the fact. So in 2B, if you go into your item lookup and you look up an item, once you see that item on your screen, if you look to the lower right, there's a little link called barcode. You can actually click on that link and scan the barcode and then export that change over to Counterpoint. And if you need a refresher how to do it, just let me know and we'll get together. So, good question. Okay. Is there a way to return to the item lookup to the exact location you left when you did the last lookup, such as doing a lookup? It's hit or miss, I find. It just sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It's software. It's not unique to Counterpoint. And I did point out during the session today that Counterpoint was remembering my last lookup. But who knows? In between the time you did that lookup, maybe somebody else did another lookup, or you left for the day and closed Counterpoint. Who knows? Maybe there was a solar flare on the sun. How can you add address fields for keyword searching in customers? That's a really good question. That's actually a configuration change to the data dictionary. I'm happy to show it to you, but I know we're almost out of time and people have to drop off. And it is going to take a few minutes for me to show this to you. So if you want something to be keyword searchable, almost anything you can make keyword searchable. Don't make everything in your database keyword searchable. It'll really slow your system down. But in this example, somebody said, how can I make the address keyword searchable? Well, good question. So first you need to know the table name you're affecting and then the column that you're affecting. And that sounds much more complicated than what it really is. So I'm going to go to customers and customers. And I'm going to find a customer. Okay. So in order to find out, let me find out an actual, here's one. In order to find out the table name and the column name, it's so simple. You need to come up here to this is called a title bar, by the way. You right click and you come down here to labels as field names, control names. And then you might want to have pencil and paper handy. So your table name is AR cust, AR underscore cust. Your column name is ADRS underscore one. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the data dictionary to make those fields, make that table and that field keyword searchable. So that's under Setup, System, Configuration, and then the data dictionary. And when the data dictionary comes up, it brings you to the wrong screen, just likes to tease you that way. And it actually hides the screen you really need to be on. Okay, so there's really two screens here. So this is the wrong screen right now. So I'm just going to scoot this out of the way. This is what we need. This is where we actually search for the table in the column, and then we'll actually customize it back over on the other screen. So I'm going to just use the table. I needed AR cust. So I'm going to start with AR. These are in alphabetical order. So I just need AR cust. So there's AR cust. Now down here I need address 1, which, fortunately is just right here at the top. But there's a lot of columns here. So if you were looking for something else, if you just double click on one of these and just start typing, I think phone 1 is 1, it'll start looking for you. You can do that up here in tables too, but it's a little clunkier. Okay, so address 1. Okay, so now I've selected my table, I've selected my column. Now I come down here to customize column. Watch what happens. The system data dictionary is going to hide. So I'm going to go to customize column and see what it does. It brings up the data dictionary. Then all you have to do is come over here to keyword and say, yes, that field is keyword searchable, and then save and refresh. Sometimes when you make these changes to the data dictionary, they don't take effect until you restart Counterpoint. So you can just automatically restart Counterpoint or you can test it. So let's just go test it real quick. So we'll go to customers, and I'll do a lookup. And I need to cheat a little bit, just a little bit. So Bill lives at Millstream Parkway. So I'm just going to come in here. And I'm going to type Millstream. There we go. Bill Baker. So even though we can't see it on the screen, Counterpoint sees it because of that database configuration. Okay, that was a very good question. And I'm just going to check for any more. Okay, let's see. Had a couple people drop off, but thanks for the ones that hung behind there. All right, well, I hope everyone has a great afternoon. Thank you for your attendance. Hope to see you on November 3rd for a renumber and merge. Talk to you later.